I've always wanted to have my own business, and I thought this is something that I would really love to do, and I've been able to do that now. And I've always loved sport, working with children. I didn't have an opportunity like Tots United, when I was growing up and younger, and I wish I did, because I would have jumped on it straight away. I'm 100 miles per hour at anything I do. I wish I'd done it sooner, and I think it's so important to have local programmes like this within your community, which has a real impact. And I give a lot of credit to you as well, because you've seen the potential in me, what I could be, and I flourished, and I'm ready to push and demand and take my life, to the next level.
Most people think PE teachers just teach sport, but some of the most dedicated entrepreneurs I know actually started in education. Today I'm sitting down with my dear friend and business partner Ajay, who went from being a secondary school PE teacher to building one of Scotland's fastest growing, multi-award winning children's sports brands, Tots United. And here's the thing, he didn't leave teaching because he hated it. He left because he realised the impact he wanted to make was bigger than the system would allow. So today we're talking honestly about the reality of being a PE teacher, the moment he knew he wanted more, the fear of stepping away from a safe career, and why PE teachers and coaches are massively underestimating just how powerful their skills really are. If you're a teacher, a coach, or someone who feels like you've got more to give but don't quite know what that looks like yet, this conversation is for you. Ajay, take us back. When did you first realise you wanted to build something beyond the classroom?
Hey, I'm delighted to be here, guys. So taking us back, I've always worked with children, early years children. I've been coaching for a long time and working in football, and I've always wanted to have my own business. So for me, it was when my oldest son, Amar, who's now 6, I took him along to a football class around 4 years ago now. He was about 18 months at the time, and I just seen how much joy he had, how he was running about, just absolutely loved playing football, and I saw the key skills he was learning. And I was doing this already as a PE teacher. I was teaching secondary school children a number of these skills, and I thought, do you know what, I would just love to do this on a full-time basis. So then we set up our own first Tots United class in our hometown of Renfrewshire in the west of Scotland, and it was a handful of kids, and I just loved it from the very first moment. Taking that session, seeing the smiles on their faces, the children scoring goals. It was much more than just football. There was children quite shy at the start, but then they were just celebrating with joy, playing with kids that they didn't know. And I thought that was just brilliant. And I thought this is something that I would really love to do. And I've been able to do that now. And I've been able to use all of my teaching skills that I've learned throughout the 15 years I've been a PE teacher, and transfer them into creating this fantastic opportunity for young children.
Brilliant. And you didn't look back?
No, I didn't look back. I think for me, when I took that step, it was that leap of faith. I thought, I'm just going to go for it. I'm one of those people that I don't want to regret anything and think, what if? I was like that as a competitor when I played football, and when I started a business, I thought I'm just going to go for it. And I'm very thankful. I've got a fantastic business partner in yourself, Yusuf, and a fantastic team behind us. And it's grown arms and legs. It's been fantastic, impacting all of these young children.
Yeah, Tots United is definitely thriving. If we can talk, Ajay, just a bit about, I suppose, the reality of being a PE teacher. You were a PE teacher for well over a decade, close to 15 years,
yes.
I think it was.
Yes, that's correct.
And just want to maybe dive into that a little bit. You were a PE teacher for a very long time, and maybe if you can share some insights in terms of the public perception of that versus the actual day-to-day reality.
Yeah, listen, the truth is, if you want to be an excellent teacher, you need to go way beyond, your contracted hours that you're expected to work. That's just the reality. The admin, the tracking, the amount of time that's spent, and a lot of admin tasks. A lot of people look at the PE teacher job and think, oh, it's great, you're just taking classes all the time. Yeah, that's part of it. And that's the best part, delivering the classes, coaching the children. But there's a big part as well. There's a lot of admin, there's a lot of paperwork, there's tracking, there's photocopying. There's lots of that, and for me, I enjoy, the children's aspect, getting kids active, getting kids moving, really inspire them, because I feel that's where all the magic comes. And I just felt with teaching, where a lot of that's gone now. You're spending a lot of your time, you're going into services, and a lot of it's, where speakers are coming in, you're learning about pedagogy and all these other teaching aspects, but how is that impacting me day to day in my class? I need more time and practice delivering my skill set with the children, which I wasn't able to always do.
Yeah,
You know?
I think that, like, for somebody looking into PE teaching, objectively, that is probably what their perception would be.
No, 100%. They're just thinking, oh, we're just taking badminton,
Aye.
basketball, football, we're taking this. Even when you're taking the teams, I mean, I'm a Scottish Cup winner, I'm proud to say that. First year teaching Scottish Cup winner in 2010. All that's extra work. That's all after the school bell goes, and you don't get all that time back. You get all those positive relationships back, but that's something you have to be prepared for. As a teacher, you will be expected to go way beyond if you want to be an outstanding teacher and do the job that you can.
So I suppose what you're saying is that there's a lot more involved, rather than in addition to the core work.
Yes.
Of being a PE teacher. There's a whole lot more.
Of course, yeah. I mean, there's tracking, reporting, there's a lot of admin sides. It's not just all of the teaching part, which is the best part of the job.
And does that kind of drag it down a wee bit?
Well,
some
it can.
way?
I mean, for me, I always loved just all the interaction with the children. That, for me, I love that part. That's where the real impact happens, taking those children. But it's less and less of that, where you're just, when you're delivering classes, it's brilliant, but then all the other time is just spent developmentally, doing resources. But then how much impact does that happen on the kids?
Yeah.
And that's something I've seen firsthand with Tots United, the impact that we are having delivering these classes and our sessions.
And why did you, at the outset, decide to become a PE teacher?
I've always loved sport. I've always loved sport, working with children. That's all I've ever done, throughout my time. Obviously I played a lot of football. Was pro youth when I was younger. We both were, at top levels, but didn't get the break. But I always had a big, massive coaching, background, and I always wanted to give back. I felt as if, the skills that I've kind of gained throughout my life, I want to try and give back to children and develop them. And I loved it. But what I will say is, working with those early years children, for me, it's a bigger impact.
And so I suppose, as somebody who had like a natural inclination to inspire kids, and you probably derived a lot of joy from teaching and working with kids, that was then probably a natural progression for you then, like in terms of, PE teaching is the route.
Yep.
Yeah, so at the time. And then did you ever feel like when you were in that role that you were limited?
Yeah, I mean, even before you even get to the point, I think even at the time, when I was kind of, doing all my coaching and doing a lot of volunteering work and communities and sessions and things, there wasn't a lot of avenue. It was like, can't get full-time coaching hours. That's the harsh reality of it. So I was doing multiple part-time jobs. Then I became a full-time PE teacher, which you think is like a full-time coaching job, but it's not. It's far from that, where it's not, and that's what a lot of people fall into because they've come from massive coaching backgrounds. So, that's another point where I didn't have an opportunity like Tots United, when I was growing up and younger, and I wish I did, because I would have jumped on it straight away.
And no, that's really interesting. So what about in terms of like the PE teaching, people generally, they might be unaware that, look, there's all this kind of admin, reports, red tape even, all that kind of stuff involved. And to what extent of your day-to-day PE teaching, was taken up and all of that additional stuff?
A lot. Every day you've been asked to go way beyond that than you already do. You're stretched. I mean, when I was in that school, I was like an octopus with different arms and legs, constantly getting this done, that done. And that's just the harsh reality of it, which no one prepares you for, because you just think you're just coaching and teaching the children all the time. But there's a lot of admin, red tape, and then you could say there's also relationships, where you need to get on with your peers, work with your peers, and not everyone was like me. I'm 100 miles per hour at anything I do, that. And just, I've always been like that, in terms of what we're doing and stuff. And I was lucky where I was in a department faculty where I was well liked, but perhaps others, just with my high energy and the way I was, they perhaps weren't like that.
And generally speaking, with the kind of school teaching environment, is that a generally positive place? And
to be honest, I mean, I know a lot of teachers out there and things, and unfortunately, it's not the same, as it once was. I mean, I speak
Why
to.
Is that?
I just think now, in terms of workloads, the pressures, what's expected of staff to do, and the morale's low. I just see a lot of staff now not motivated when they first came in, and you don't want that, because ultimately you're working with children, you want to impact them, albeit the teenagers, you still want to impact them and give them the best possible start. But I just feel a lot of them are flat because of the expectations on them now.
Is that quite common for somebody like they're going into this line of work, the PE teaching? Why they've chosen to do that is probably evident that they want to inspire kids and help them achieve and attain. But then when they get into the role, there's so many other things that are, I don't know, bringing them down.
100%. I mean, it even becomes a lot data given, where it's, when you go kind of further up the school, where they're looking at data and trends to see like how the kids have gotten hires, etc. But sometimes it's not about that. It's about the kids. And I think a lot of staff are just overwhelmed because now, having been in teaching and known a lot of teachers, they're overwhelmed with thinking, well, we're not just a stat, about those kids passing that exam at higher level. It's much more than that. And I just feel now that morale is relatively low with, certainly a lot of the teachers in education of people that I speak to, and some of them are looking now at, other avenues.
And do you think quite a lot of teachers might be feeling that way?
Yes, certainly. Yes, certainly from my experience, from what I've seen and from what I'm seeing out there, yeah, there are. They're just, they'll come in at the first year, they love it, first couple of years, and then there's a burnout, and they're now looking at other, and then sometimes the other avenue, they're stuck. They don't think, they don't see the value of what they're doing, etc. Where entrepreneurship, everything else, something that I've been able to do. I mean, they're already doing it as a teacher. You've got all that skill set. If you actually sit back and think, hold on a minute, you're doing all the skills that are required of a business. Just back yourself. But I just feel now they're stuck in routines. They're stuck where they don't think they have an option.
And when did that happen for you? Like that feeling that maybe you might like more?
Listen, straight away. Listen, me. Listen, as soon as I took that first Tots United session, something that was mine, and I seen that, and I thought, listen, that we can really make something of that. And at the time when I started Tots United, as you may or may not be aware, I was still teaching at the time, so I was trying to juggle both. And anything I do,
what was that like? That must have been pretty difficult.
No, that was tough. Listen, that was really tough, and you know that. Do you know what I mean? Because in terms of like I was, a rabbit with headlights on, where I was just trying to do as much as I could. Where I'm trying to teach full time, but in the day I'm in school. So all the Tots United's growing, there's lots of demand, people are loving it, you're making real impact with all the young children. I wasn't able to give all my time to Tots United because I'm in school. And don't get me wrong, I love my time at school. I learned so much, skills from it. I've been able to transfer all these skills into Tots United. But for me, it was, I have to do it. I have to do this now. It's now or never. And I realised very quickly as soon as I set up and started, having my own business, just going for it. Who better to back than yourself?
And when did that that idea, that feeling, when did that appear for you?
Listen, I would say as early on as possible. As soon as I took, that first kind of training session that we took within Tots United in our home time, within the first few months, I thought this is what I want to do.
Brilliant. But you didn't make the move from PE teaching to running Tots United full time for quite a while afterwards?
Yeah, I would say so. Probably about maybe a year on in, after that, then I took that transition because
about a year?
Yeah, about a year and a half, about that I seen, look, that was the kind of transition I took. Look, this is, we can really scale
why?
this.
Let's get into that a wee bit. Why did it take that long?
I suppose, listen, let's just be honest, put our cards out on the table. I suppose it is a bit of fear. You're used to doing something day and night. It's security. Yeah, where you've seen that wage packet coming in, everything that's coming in, you're contributing to your pension, all these various factors, come into it. And obviously I had a young family, at the time, obviously I had my boy Amma, then Avi was born not long after. There's only like 21 months between them, so it's like having two under two at the time. So it's all these different variable factors. But for me, I was like, I need to believe in my dream and my passion, and I've always wanted to have something of my own, build something in the community, and I had to just go for it, and I've not looked back since.
Was it like taking a leap of faith then, basically?
Yeah, a leap of faith, call it whatever you want, all these different, but also believe in myself. I backed myself, do you know what I mean? And a lot of credit comes to you as well, Yusuf. We'll come and say, well, you saw that, that potential in me. Obviously you're very business driven from your accolades, and that's a podcast for another day. And I thought, you showed a lot of belief in me, because I was just doing my time, being a teacher, I loved it. I was acting faculty head for a while, I've done everything in school, I've done pastoral work, a number of things, but then you saw the potential in me. Then that's actually when I had a chance to reflect, for hold on a minute here. We have created an absolute fantastic business model here, and look what we're doing in our local communities. Why can't we do that elsewhere? And that's exactly what we've been able to do.
Yeah, no, that's true. I remember it well that time, and obviously when we started Tots United, it was full on. Really full on. You were.
Well, we had that conversation when we spoke, in those nice coffee places that we always go to. Just we couldn't believe how quickly everything was going and happening, and the demand. But it's not that. It's also everything Tots United stands for: the brand, the quality, everything that we bring. The two of us. And for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm going to say that I wish I'd done it sooner. And I'm glad I made that step, because some people sitting here listening, will think, oh, it's too late. Listen, it's never too late. You can always make that change.
But that's probably a bit of hindsight coming in there as well. But I remember at the time, there was a bit of hesitation.
Yep.
And maybe even anxiousness, because
Yep.
this was not something that you'd ever done before.
No, I've not.
In terms of your career path, it's always been employment.
Yep.
It's never been, right, I'm going to start my own business, or maybe start a wee side hustle, or, the entrepreneur side has come out now.
Yes.
But prior to that, it would
No experience. Listen, I've had no experience, but what I will say is, being a PE teacher and everything that I've learnt from that, those transferable skills, teamwork, working with people every day, parents' nights, working with child, everything that I've learnt, I've took it in my stride, with Tots United. But you're spot on. I've had no experience of running any enterprise, any sort of business. My dad's had the kind of restaurant takeaway business, which I've helped in, but I've never ran it, and I've been able to do it. So if someone like me can do it, so my message is, you can do it as well.
I remember that time very well, because I remember when we used to have discussions about it, and I used to say, look, Ajay, we're a bit at a crossroads right now, because Tots United is growing arms and legs, it's snowballing. You might have a decision ahead for you to think about, and it was almost like you had a kind of bit of an internal conflict. You were like, on the one hand, like, teaching's what I've been doing for so long, it's what I know, and I don't really, this is all new to me, and it's all happening so fast, and I remember it so well. And I did say to you at the time, I remember I gave you quite a bit of advice at the time, and one of the things I said to you was, look, you're betting on yourself, and who better can you bet on?
Yep.
And if you feel that you can't place a bet on yourself, don't do it.
Yep.
However, if on the other hand you feel that who better to bet on than yourself, then there's your answer.
Yep.
And I think that's probably, you made the decision.
Yeah, that's it. No, exactly. And like you said, we spoke about that at length, and I spoke to you on the phone, and it was obviously, I spoke to my wife, everything. There's a lot of factors, but like you said, you're betting on yourself. And for me, I don't want a what if. I don't want to regret. It's a bit like that. When we play football, we still play. You leave everything out in the park. You give everything you've got, and you don't want that regret. You don't want to think, what if, when I'm lying on my deathbed and thinking, oh, I should have done this, should have, would have, could have. No. No, for me, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it 100%. And listen, if it didn't work out, etc., I could always come back to teaching, but I want to build something of my own. I want to build something in communities, and I want to work in sport, and especially football.
It's really quite something. I like thinking back and reflecting on all of that.
Yeah.
And I suppose, did you at the time, did you feel like scared or nervous? What was your feeling?
No, is this a transition from being a teacher going in?
Making that decision?
Of course, but I think at the time we both saw, like, you know what I mean? We're doing something incredible here. The fact that you're impacting so many young children, and I'm talking children from 18 months, there's no better feeling in the world. And if you can do it full time, where you're working with these youngsters, in communities, getting them active, getting them moving, it's so much more than football. And there was at the time, but I was ready. You know what I mean? Like I was ready to make that jump, and if anything, I really wish this sort of opportunity came to me sooner. Like I said, when I was growing up, I was coaching with Celtics, all these different community programs, etc., within local authorities, volunteering, did everything under the sun, cadets of coaching and with children. But I didn't have an opportunity growing up, such as Tots United, working in football sport with early years children. And another thing I'll say is, children aren't as active as they once were. We were always out in the street playing all the time, etc. It's changed times now, and we have 5 children between us, as you know, and they're out every day, they're active, they're going to all these Tots United sessions. But we want more of this.
But why is that? Is that just because of screens and
Well,
distraction?
it's a different day and age, you know, there's social media, there's distractions, everything else, but you can't blame the weather. The weather's always been like this, you know, and I think parenting style, sometimes it's easy, you know what I mean, where kids, there's a tablet, there's a screen. I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, I would never do that. And we both don't do that, you know, our kids are out active moving. And I think it's so important to have local programmes like this within your community, which has a real impact. And we've seen that firsthand, and we're part of that. We set this up. If you actually think, if we didn't set all this up, all the classes, children that we've, thousands of children, 20 plus, okay, none of these children get this because we provided that platform for them.
Yeah. Do you see or notice a big difference between the provision for early years sport for kids as opposed to when you were a secondary school teacher, that sport for older kids, I suppose? Is there a big difference there, and how do you kind of recognise that difference? How does that feel as well, working with early years rather than kids who are
Listen,
older?
I've always said it, do you know what I mean? And obviously being a parent as well, and for my own parents, if you can get it right from this height, you know, from as young as possible, you know, getting them active, getting them moving, that'll stay with them for life. Straight away, because you're doing it early years. What I did see when I was a secondary school teacher, and even when I speak to teachers now, is you can tell within 30 seconds when you're delivering a secondary school sessions, how many of those children have been exposed to sport, exercise, whatever it may be, because some of them haven't. Within I could see within first 5 minutes of a football class, badminton class, that whatever it may be in every sport that I took, who's been exposed to it, not. Because
some kids going to secondary school have not really been exposed
no,
to
I don't think so. No, because there isn't sometimes that provision for them to go into to local clubs, and this is a debate for another day. You know, I could talk all day where they're also getting told by football clubs, they're not good enough. I mean, they're not good enough at 5, 6, 7, 8. And I also think by us working with as children as young as 18 months, we're making a real impact to them as early as possible. And it's also our values, our values that we have within our programme that they learn of care and love. These are values that they take into life. And some of these children might not have these values at home based on their circumstance, whatever it may be, but we are providing that platform for them.
And going from that, making that transition from teaching to entrepreneur, having your own business, would you say there was core skills there that you had as a teacher that facilitated that transition, that made it easier, and there were skills there that you could call upon to help you build and then run your own business?
Yeah, I mean, great question. Well, I think obviously there's a lot of skills that are transferable from teaching. I mean, you're working with children, communication, resilience, problem solving, teamwork. I mean, you're doing that all the time, and then you're able to then naturally take them into their business. And what I didn't realise was I was naturally probably an entrepreneur, which I didn't realise my potential, because, I mean, you've seen it, others have seen it when I've been on a lot of business conferences, etc. And being on there like they do, you're actually natural at this. And it's sometimes teachers don't believe what they have.
Why is that?
Because systems. They're stuck. They just think this is their life.
Rigid systems.
Rigid systems. This is what it's like. Is that kind of fixed mindset, tunnel vision. They don't see all this. And to an extent, unless if it wasn't for Tots United, entrepreneurship, yourself, us doing all this, the programmes, then I would perhaps be in that, this is it, this is my life. However, now, sky's the limit. For me, I see huge potential, and in terms of what we've been able to do in the west of Scotland and even international, way beyond. We've got that tagline from classroom to international, boardroom, and all these different things that we've said about me. But it's been an incredible journey, and it's all been thanks to the programme we've created.
And would you say generally then speaking, more generally speaking rather, that teachers, they have those core skills then needed in
100%, of course they do. Like I said, I'm a teacher. I came from a teaching background. I've got all those skills, and I would say all the teachers, 99, if not 100% of them, will have those skills. But it's only when you sit back and think, hold on, you're actually working with kids, you're communicating with them, you're being resilient, you're problem solving, you're going out there, you're talking to people, and a lot of things, 80% is just talking to people, building those relationships, and teachers have that.
Was there something that surprised you about all of that? Like you had those skills that could be very well utilised in business, but you didn't really know that at the time, and did was there something that surprised you about all of that?
But why did I not know? You know what I mean? Why did I not know sooner? Why did you have to point me out on others and etc.? Do you know what I mean? And I give a lot of credit to you as well, because you seen the potential in me, what I could be, and we've coached together, etc. And obviously we went on our professional past. But I think it's sometimes you just get down that vision. You just think this is your life. When you're doing it for so many years, etc. And for me, it's just been having that shift now has been phenomenal, because I've always had the skills, and I would say teachers out there, coaches that are watching, you guys have those skills. You're doing it all the time, working with children, etc. You're able to then take to the business, and you can probably elaborate this as well, where I flourished. Where I've come in as a PE teacher, massive coaching background, UEFA grassroots leaders, all these coaching backgrounds, but I've been able to take all these skills and build a successful business with Tots United, and if anyone's out there, watching this, listening to this, etc., can resonate, then you guys have these skills as well, because I'm not different from anybody else out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's been achieved with Tots United and what you've done, it's especially last year in 2025, we made a video about it, reflecting on
your best year ever.
Oh, it was incredible. And one of the things, of course, is we were invited to take part in a delegation to the US, and we ended up in Washington DC on the steps of the White House, and we coined that phrase for you, where you went from like the classroom.
Listen, I knew you'd have it.
To the boardroom.
Yeah.
And then to the steps of the White House.
And listen, that was incredible. Listen, let me just, even on that moment, right, and we're not, we're...
But could something like that have ever happened?
No, listen, that couldn't, listen, you can get trips, you can go to like football trips, etc., Valencia, but to be, at the White House, have a meeting, next to the president's office, get pictures at the skyline, and unreal. That is, honestly, that's unbelievable. And like I'm saying, I'm just a normal guy. Listen, normal guy. A lot of you guys will know me from teaching, coaching in the communities, and I've been able to do that. It's been incredible, in terms of that kind of international journey. And it's not just been America, it's been the other places that we've been to as well.
Yeah.
And that was all possible because I took that leap of faith, I backed myself, I backed my skill set, and I've went for it.
Yeah, no, it's certainly exceptional. And then, like when we talked about this a wee bit earlier on, in terms of the early year sport, and you kind of highlighted how that's different from sport for kids who are older, school age, secondary school kids.
But even on that, Yusuf, I'll come in. Sorry to cut you there. I feel sometimes it's too competitive for a lot of kids. A lot of children, it's too competitive for me from an early age, where they don't want that. Not every kid wants to be a superstar. Not every kid's going to be Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and they're not. Let them just have fun and enjoy sport and the benefits from it. And I think it's so important with the curriculum that we've built within Tots United, we've been able to do that.
Well, that comes back to like what makes Tots United different.
Values, everything we're doing, the Kagan love and everything we bring in, the coaching team. But that's all came because of obviously my background and experience by doing that. Being able to transition and bring all that skill set into Tots United, and it's thriving.
And in terms of like building Tots United, was there any kind of, I don't know, the exceptional challenges or anything that kind of stood out as being early days mistakes or anything like that?
I think that if I'm being totally honest, it was kind of, you were very good at this as well, and other kind of business mentors that have been saying to me is like, it's taking that mind shift away. Like you're not a PE teacher anymore, you're a business owner. Where it's having that, because I've obviously came from a coaching background, I've always taught, and I think for me, I was always a jolly. Every session, it was like, I need to be there, I need to go to this session, I need to go to this session and that, I need to go and deliver here, I need to go, that's just the way I am. You know what I mean? I always want to kick that ball, I want to go and meet that kid, but I think by what we've done, being able to have systems and processes, we've been able to scale, and that's all happened because of that.
So was there...
Back to your question, sorry.
Was there a steep learning curve then, basically?
Oh, there was, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I had to think back, hold on a minute, I don't actually have to be at every session for it to run. If you've got systems and processes, which we have here, at Tots United, you're able to scale it and grow, and I've seen that, and it's been a bit of learning for me because, what I'm like, I want to go be in at every session, I want to go and kick that ball, I want to see every single class, and there's hundreds that we're running. And I think, being able to step back and think, hold on, you manage everything, you manage the programme well, You do your class audits, you know, and I've learnt from that, and I've learnt, you know, to kind of let go. You know, I think for me, it's always, you want that kind of control on the sessions, and I think it's just, you know, let it go, trust what you're doing, trust the process, the systems, and watch it thrive.
But at the beginning, a lot of that was very new to you. I remember when I used to talk to you about like different aspects of business,
Yeah.
from like marketing to branding to, you know, going out and talking to folk and telling them about classes, even general customer service, how that approach should be
Yeah.
to ensure that it's top level. And then talk about like revenues and
Accountings,
all-
budgets,
all of
your
that.
planning,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, all of that is so new to you, and you know, just tell us a little bit about that, like how that was, like learning about all these different things, and you know, having to think like a business owner.
Yeah, listen, unbelievable. It was really was. It was, like I said, I'm wanting to just put myself in any situation, but it was. But I give you a lot of credit for that, because you pushed me, and watch out blow your trumpet, because you're next to me again. But you pushed me, you know, out my limits. You know, where looking AJ, it's not just about the sessions, it's not just about operations. It's about thinking you won, your plan, everything that I've learned. And like I keep saying, I'm just a normal guy, but I've been able to do that, and this has all came from the skill set, from coaching and teaching that I've learned, and it's been incredible. You know, learning that, and it was tough, because at times I'm like, listen, I don't really want to be looking at, you know, this accounting thing, or whatever it may be, or this marketing tool, or this badge, or this design.
Listen, I remember when we had our meeting with with one of our accountants, and
Is this Mr. Gobbledygook?
we were going, no, hold on, we were going through our accounts for the year, and I says to the accountant, I says, look, I said, we'd like to review this, and AJ's coined a little phrase to summarise his understanding of the accounts, and the accountant was like, what's the phrase? I was like, he calls it gobbledygook.
And that's just because there's a lot of things that, you know, in terms of, that was just a wee kind of, you know, joke. But listen, I learned some of the things.
Aye, but listen, for anyone, that's that's what it's
the
gonna
numbers
be.
crunching, the
That's
analysis,
it.
you know, it's a lot of in-depth things, you know, which I've never learnt, but being able to do that as a business owner and have the understanding of it now, yeah, so I do understand gobbledygook.
Now you do.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
And if you could do it,
Of course,
so
listen,
many
if I can
others,
do it,
yeah.
then others can do it, and
Aye.
others can learn. And I've always been in that mindset. You're always learning. The day you say you know everything, then that's it. No, you don't. You're always learning and thriving in any line of work, you know, in business, anything that you do.
Yeah, and I suppose a really good example of this now is like you went through that steep learning curve, and now with our Tots United franchisees, it's amazing, because now you're able to actually
See that in practice. Yes.
but also like teach them
Yes.
all these different things
Correct.
now, and I
Correct.
see that, because I think I look at it and I say, like, all the things I kind of spoke to you about,
Yeah.
and taught you and stuff like that.
As I was taught by the best.
Now you're teaching
Yeah.
our franchisees,
Correct.
and the thing is, they're all thriving and
Correct.
flying high, so it's like a ripple effect.
Yes.
And so for me, like, that's something that brings a lot of satisfaction, that, you know, people are doing so well, and there's a ripple effect there.
Correct.
So that's interesting to see as well, and it's good to see that in practice as well, when you're explaining all these different things to our franchisees, and yeah,
Yeah,
it
no, listen-
must make you feel a bit
No,
proud
of course
that
it
you,
does.
that
Of
you
course,
get all these
yeah,
things,
of course.
and-
You know what I mean? Like I said, classroom, like you know, franchisees are coming in, signing agreements, going through things with them, going through business, all the strategies. But it just shows what a comprehensive, you know, training program, everything that we have in place. It's been brilliant. And like you said, it is, you know, it is a wee bit of joy, you know, where that mindset's, you know, that not just the coach and the teacher, it's that, you know, I'm a business owner, I'm helping, you know, our franchisees that are coming in, that are with us now, they're thriving in their local communities, they're getting so many kids active, moving, and you see how much they enjoy it, the legacy that they're going to leave. You know, it's much more than just football and life skills, it's what they're leaving back in the, you know, in the community when they go.
It's like it continues. Like, you got other people that are learning to run,
Yep.
and handle their own business and thrive with it. So it's a good
Yeah, it's
thing
been
to see.
exceptional.
Yeah,
And there's no better feeling, you know, in anything that you do.
and I suppose with that, like Tots United, it's done really well. It's grown exponentially year on year in every direction. The growth and expansion of Tots United has been happening. And along the way, like, we've received some recognition for that as well. Just wanted to maybe touch on that. When we created Tots United, how long was it before people started taking note of it?
Listen, straight away. Listen, we were the talk of the town. Listen, everybody's seen us like, oh, there's AJ, there's Yusuf, there's the guys from Tots United, and straight away there was people asking about our classes, can we get in? And we saw that straight away in terms of being able to have 3-4, facilities, locations within the end of year one.
But again, why?
High quality in terms of what they were getting, in terms of our expertise, coaching, teaching background, this man's professional legal business background, they were getting that high quality early years education programme, which they weren't getting. Or if they were getting, it wasn't as good as ours. And we saw that with the numbers that were coming in, and they continue coming in, and the waiting list show that.
And yeah, I remember that as well, and there was certainly high demand for.
But listen, but we didn't even know. We didn't know. We just thought, look, well, we got in the session, we had it and then it was just unbelievable. Like we did the first session, it was just like, oh my God, it was a bit kind of surreal moment. But then, what an impact that we're having. When I see all these children and the areas that even the adults, forget the children are loving, the adults, the grandparents. Anyone that brings little Johnny along, they love it. They think this is brilliant that the children are getting this experience from early on.
Aye. And it was fresh, it was innovative, it brought new things.
Of course, there's a whole curriculum. It's not just there's a football, go and kick it. There's programmes, there's lesson plans, there's a lot of kind of systems and processes that we put in. But ultimately, the children were loving it because they were wanting to go. They were saying, Mum and Dad, we're parents, we want to go back to Tots United, we want to be back there. And it just shows you, the power that we had. And we want others, to have that.
And then along the way, we kind of certainly got noticed as we expanded and we were growing in so many different communities, and then we picked up some awards and recognition as well. Like, do awards really even matter?
I think they do matter because it kind of validates kind of what you're doing. It kind of fuels you as well, and a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter, and yeah, it is about the children, but it also kind of shows you like what a fantastic product you have and the belief that people have in you. So in terms of that, it was fantastic. And then from a business context, put the teachers and coaches that way, unbelievable. To be able to achieve that in a year one. Now we're multi-award winning, back-to-back awards. That we've been able to achieve. Within our local kind of chamber and things, fantastic.
So that's significant.
Yeah, I would say so, because it also then shows you the high quality product and what you're getting. You're getting that kind of high quality from us. What everything Tots United stands for is much more than just the coaches, the classes, it's the brand, everything that we bring, that 5-star service, changing children's lives.
Do teachers get that opportunity to be recognised as award-winning in schools?
Listen, if they did, I'll tell you something right now, if you're watching it, you know how well I taught, and there's other fantastic teachers out there. I should be winning an award every year. No, and I know you used to joke about that quite a lot. Where's your award for teaching? You could see, the results and everything else, and the kids went on to university, but no.
There's not.
I wasn't. I wish there was. I'd get a bonus every day if it was. I didn't. See, it was just that recognition that the children have learned a new skill, went on a fantastic career, but you weren't actually given an accolade or an award.
So if you're an exceptional teacher doing exceptional work and helping children achieve exceptional results, there's nothing actually there to...
Listen, I did that within my school, our local authority. We were outstanding performing results-wise within the whole local authority. We were top, number 1 ranked.
So within the whole...
And I taught myself and, the principal I was acting principal teacher, then I was teaching that cohort, that group, and some of those children that we taught, there's the only higher they got. And I took them through it. I'm not taking all credit, so the way I taught, methodologies I was using, but it was just something you do. But I never got an award this, that, because I'd be sitting with a table full if that was the case.
Talk about the attainment thing that you just mentioned there. Out of the entire local authority region, which is a big region.
Correct.
What was it? What was the...
We got the highest attainment for higher PE.
For higher PE.
Within that cohort, within that year that I delivered, my students that we got within that year within the authority, but also nationally. Nationally, some of our figures that we got were outstanding.
Right.
But listen, there's no award for that.
So that's a like really high level of attainment. Number one in the whole local authority.
Correct.
Your students.
Correct.
For PE, higher PE attainment,
Yes.
and then nationally across the whole country.
Up there,
Outstanding.
Yes.
And the students that you taught achieved that, but there's not an actual recognition.
It's just it's an expectation. That's just what you do in teaching, and there was no award, this, that, and.
But that's exceptional. I can't think of many PE teachers who can say that or have delivered that.
Listen, I agree, because some of those children that I've taught, they're now working for us coaching was because of that relationship. How much effort that I put in, and it was, in terms of doing that, it really was.
And yeah, and it's a difficult one to understand that, when teachers are making such a big impact for students, helping them achieve and attain, results, good results, exceptional results, or even, results at all. And that's a lot of impact in there.
But sometimes it's just, to be honest,
the recognition is just not there.
Yeah, and it's a stat. Oh, look, you did really well. This looks really good for the stats, etc. And you don't, when I was in teaching, and a lot of us started to feel like that. We're not just. It's not about stats. We're doing it for the kids. This job is about the children thriving and giving them all the opportunities that you can. It's not. I don't care about the stats.
But then, how do you differentiate like a really good PE teacher from one that's not? If that's not recognised,
you can't. Because not everyone, like I said, was like me, and like some of my, like my peers. I had an outstanding, department team, but there's others out there that are just going through the motion. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all the same tier. No one's ranked. You know what I mean? It could be personally you've done it, but you're not getting an award or an accolade or listen, EJ, well done, and listen, come here and it's a big like you're not.
So excellence is not really recognised when it comes to teachers within that context.
Trophies and awards, yeah.
But generally, anything, where is any kind of recognition?
I think it's just pride in, knowing that you've done right.
Okay. And I suppose like in 2025, which is the year that's just passed, at the start of the year, there was a kind of milestone achievement. Tots United was recognised as a top 20 children's activity provider across the whole of the UK. An amazing achievement for a Scottish-born company. What did that moment actually mean to you?
To me, it meant we've arrived and people know who we are. That's exactly what it was telling us, because we're west of Scotland, and we are now expanding way beyond and faster than we expected. But it also just shows you against some industry giants that are out there way longer than us, 10 years plus, 20 years plus. All these different kind of children's sectors are in, not just sport, other avenues are in. We were up there, we were recognised, and also that was our first year that we were in this kind of awards, for being awarded for the top 20. We were never in there, so they saw the talent and what we were doing in a local community. So it was, it's a real feeling of pride and joy, and yeah, we've arrived.
The fact that we just spoke about, like PE teaching, teachers as well, like generally when you're doing so well.
So there's no recognition like that?
Aye.
That's what you're getting to.
So
there wasn't.
Now,
so if I was top boy doing higher, etc., top teacher, this, that, doesn't matter.
Aye.
It's an expectation.
Yeah. But now, with Tots United and the positive impact, everything that's doing, that is now being recognised. It's been recognised at that top level. So that must have tell us.
Yeah, no, listen, no, I was extremely proud.
That's like new to you.
Extremely proud, amazing. Like,
we're being told that our club, Tots United, is within the top 20. So there's a top 100 list.
Correct.
That's compiled by the UK's biggest directory of children's activity providers, and that's not just football. That's like gymnastics, dance, everything, all different types of children's
activities and providers. Yes,
and it's the UK's biggest directory, and they have a top 100 list for, well, essentially the top 100, and Tots United was ranked
in the top.
in the top 20.
Yeah, listen, unbelievable. Listen,
for all the work
aye.
that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like for you in that
Of course,
aye.
come from the teaching coaching
Aye.
background, extremely proud, you know, like unbelievable. You know, I was like, I couldn't believe it, you know, on the day. It's because it's something that we're so invested in, you know, we built with our own hands, and we're being now recognised nationally in this award. It can't be understated, you know. And I've came, like I said, from a teaching, coaching background where never in a million years did I think, you know, I would be top 20, let alone unbelievable.
Aye, across the whole UK.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all really interesting stuff, you know, and just I think a lot of people might, you know, hearing that, your story and the teaching side of it to where you are now, it's a very interesting transition, but also the attainment, you know, a lot to be said for it. What's the kind of brutal truth that most PE teachers don't want to hear?
I suppose it's just the brutal truth is don't undervalue yourself. You know, where I think sometimes where systems, constraints, and you think this is just your life. This is all you can be. You're going to go in, do your job, boom, retirement, all these different things. Really, I think value yourself, you know, in terms of your skills, what you bring. Take some time to reflect. Where is it you want to be? What is it you want to do? Who is it you aspire to be? What is it impact you want to leave? And I think the brutal truth is sometimes as teacher you just get this tunnel vision. You just kind of see, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. And the systems and how things are going, you know, within teaching, it's becoming harder and harder, you know, and I'm seeing that with a lot of teachers and that are losing that passion.
But having said that, there will be teachers out there who, for many of them, the kind of routine, the daily routine of teaching will be fine, will be adequate. Maybe that's what they want, you know. So, like, who shouldn't? Like, you've been on both sides, the teaching side and the entrepreneurial business side. Who shouldn't leave teaching? You know, who is the entrepreneurial, the business side? Who is that not right for, in your opinion? Who should like stay put?
Well, I think sometimes it's those people that just perhaps don't want to grow, you know, don't want to, you know, back themselves and grow a business, and I think if they think they've met their purpose, you know, I love this. This is what I want to do. I'm really happy. I want to keep teaching. This is all I want to do. You know, I think for those and they just love it day in day out. They breathe it. They've seen all the impact that they make with the kids. They enjoy going in every day. The morale's good. The relationships with everyone. You know, if you're happy and set, you know, like that, you know, and you like systems that you need to work towards systems. You're a cog in a wheel. You know, you're just working, doing what you need to do. There's, you know, you work 9 months of the year, there's 3 months holiday, you're just going around the motions, etc. Then if you're happy with that and that's what you want, then, you know, you don't want all that change, etc. And nothing, if you even if you know the other side, if you don't want to take that shift, then maybe it's not for you, or you're scared.
What about the point that, well, it's a guaranteed paycheck at the end of the month, you know, don't need to worry about it, that's what I'm going to be getting. What about that?
Yeah, and a lot of people do. You can do that in any line of work. You know what I mean? Where you just come in, there's a guaranteed paycheck. There's all these, you know, different kind of benefits and things that you can get. But listen, you make your own destiny. You make your own. You know, if someone like me been able to do with my skill set, and I'm not different from a lot of teachers that are out there, and there's some fantastic teachers out there and coaches, where if you really believe in what you're saying, you know, your product and the skill set you have, you know, then you're able to then be bigger than that. And if you want to, yeah, that you've got to have that. No one can force you. I mean, this man didn't force me. Nobody did. You know, it's a conversation I had with my wife, my family, everybody collectively, and they're like, listen, this is go. I mean, they all say, listen, you're already doing it. You know, look how much impact you've had as you're doing a full-time job and doing this kind of, you know, on the side, a part-time. Look what I'm now being able to take that transition. You know, I've been able to go internationally. You know. All these different continents, unbelievable, you know, and I think you've got to have that drive and that ambition to want more.
Aye.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted more for my family, for everyone. You know, the teaching gave me that base. It gave me everything. It gave me all the skill set. But now, you know, I'm a business owner and I'm ready to push and demand and take my life, to the next level.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, that drive, ambition, and you got to want
But,
more.
but you're also meeting people like, I mean, these awards which you kind of alluded, spoke to as well. I mean, we're rubbing shoulders with guys like Rolls Royce, Diageo, big, massive companies, CEOs, multi-million pound turnovers. That's not going to happen to me in a classroom. It's not. Where you're sitting next to in a boat, all these different things. It's been unbelievable, the opportunities that you can create. And it's all about making opportunities, making things work for you, going out there, and that's exactly, what I've been able to do. And, and if you're that type of person, where you can resonate and think, oh, I'm a go-getter, I want to go and do this, I want to go and do that, then this may be the opportunity for you.
Does it open the world up to you?
100%. Listen, it's opened the world. It's changed my life. It's like I said to you, I take my kids every day to school. Albeit it was goddamn snowy and icy this morning. But it's opened the doors for me. It's going to be a better life for them, and my family. We've been able to go to places and the journey that we're on, and I'm going to show them as much as I can of the world and continue to drive. And they're proud of me. Like I said, my children are in the programme. They love it. They love being part of that, and they're really proud of what we've created in our communities.
And I suppose that kind of makes me think about like
legacy.
Aye, but also like success. So what does that really mean? For some people, success is like having
lots of money,
or whatever. But I think for you and for me, for both of us, we've got
work-life balance, Yusuf.
Yeah, the success means a lot more than money.
Doing something you love, something you're passionate about, something that's going to have a real impact, that's going to be there when we go. This Tots United's not going anywhere. This will be here. Where it'll be in lots of communities. The programme will be there, it'll be running, and we've seen that with our franchisees that are coming in, and the interest we're getting. But that's why we're leaving that footprint within communities. These children getting active, and in this day and age, social media, tablets, all these screen times, etc. Kids aren't active, so we are doing our bit, and it's so important. We're getting children, because then you've got the other side, mental health issues, obesity, the list goes on. So we really want to try and get it right for children as soon as possible, which we are doing. So for me, Tots United's much more than just a football business.
What about for you personally? In terms of that success and being a success and being successful. Well, what does that mean?
For me, it's just getting children active, moving, and inspired by sport, by seeing children smile, the joy of it, and the money comes, by running all this. If you do something with passion, with heart and belief, and you're honest, then you're going to be successful.
I remember actually saying that to you at the beginning. I was like, I said something along the lines of...
So you said a lot of things, man. Listen, what didn't you say, man? Listen, you think this guy's quiet?
But I remember in this context, it was something along... Because when you were making that transition from PE teaching into being your own boss and having your own business, obviously the question of money does come up, and you think, like, how am I going to sustain myself?
And listen, you take when you go.
Yeah, but the thing I said to you was,
that will come if you're good at it.
Aye.
Yep.
Like, look, don't forget, you'd be betting on yourself.
Correct.
Who better to bet on? And if you're good at what you do, the money will come. And I remember actually having a discussion with one of my mentors years ago about that as well. And it was a similar point that was made, as that look, it's very natural and easy to worry about where's the next paycheck or where's the next bit of money going to come from. But fundamentally, if you're good at what you do, that'll come.
Yep.
And once you get over that mindset, you start seeing that in practice. And certainly that's what I found when I developed my own legal practice. And I started out, those thoughts were natural. But then you're good at what you do, the money kind of follows after that. And that's, I suppose, maybe what happened in this context as well.
Yeah, totally.
And you probably, in fact, I know that you do. You have a lot of pride in your teaching roots. That kind of gave you an important foundation for everything you've done and achieved with Tots United and are continuing to. And you've impacted hundreds and maybe thousands of children, kids, as a teacher and through Tots United, what impact matters most to you? Like, honestly.
Listen, great question. Obviously they're connected. Obviously teaching kind of shaped who I am, but Tots United impact travels much further. You know, in terms of, you know, working. I mean, what it's not just the numbers, but it's knowing the value, care, our ethos. You know that you're bringing and you're demonstrating, and you're getting these children active and moving. You know, with our values of care and love. It's been unbelievable. So they both went hand in hand. You know, teaching's contributed, but for me, it's just Tots United has been unbelievable.
And is there anything like that really stands out? Like, what? Like, what's some, maybe a big difference or something?
Well, I mean, I've already spoken about obviously working with, you know, the young children at 18 months. You know, also just the values. You know, everything that we bring our classes, what it stands for.
Do you not see those values in the schools?
You do, but you do see the values in the schools. I remember, you know, going on about it in the school and stuff. But to be honest,
is there no care and love in the schools?
No, you can't. Listen, there is may not be care and love. There'll be other values kind of aligned to that.
Yeah.
However, a lot of those children might not resonate or might not know them or might not say them. But we certainly make sure that all of our Tots United know about our values and feel them. But not only the children. This is another key fact. The parents, the adults, the guardians, whoever it may be that brings them to the session, they know about this and they feel it when they come to every one of our sessions, and that's really, really important.
And what about, like, as a teacher in the schools, I suppose, like, one of the success points will be the attainment of students passing their exams, getting their grades, stuff like that. That's great. That's your impact right there that you're making. And in Tots United, the impact is, you know, kids are developing skills. They might start at the beginning very shy, hesitant to get involved, and then after a while they're brimming with confidence and, you know, jumping around everywhere and having a great time, and that's the impact there. For you, like, is there a difference in terms of how one makes you feel over the other?
Well, I think because obviously Tots United's ours, we created it, you know, like if this wasn't here, what is it for children? And I think the impact that I really enjoy in having with Tots United is because I know I've created that and I've given these opportunities not only to the children and the adults, but also to whole communities and coaches.
And do you have, like, any kind of advice for teachers and coaches? You know, somebody might be listening and thinking, oh, this is really interesting, and, you know, what advice would you have for them?
I would say, look, believe in your skill set, believe in what you're doing, and think, what is it you want from your life? Where is it you want to be? And as I keep saying, I'm just a normal person, came from a teacher and massive coaching background, and I've been able to do it. I run a successful business. So my advice would be is, if someone like me can do it, you can do it. Believe in your skills, because you have the skill set. You're doing it on a day-to-day basis, and don't just think you're a cog on a wheel, system, structure. Think big.
And what would be, like, a realistic first real step that they could take?
Get in touch with us. Listen, get in touch with us at the team. Like, I mean, we're getting inquiries all the time, day to day, with lots of franchises coming on board, and we have now. You know, get in touch with us and have a look at what we've done. Let's have a conversation. Meet up with us, and you know, then, you know, we can come up with a plan. We can sit down together, and then we can plan that out.
Is there anything that they should not do?
So my advice would be, act now and do something about it. All right, you don't want a what if. You know, if you believe in something, you believe in your ability, go and make it happen.
And what's next for you, like, personally, on a personal level, on a professional level? What's next?
Listen, I want to just keep going Tots United. You know, I've seen firsthand, you know, the massive impact that we've had everywhere in the local community. And I want to keep going our classes, you know, everywhere, you know, across Scotland and beyond, and even international. I mean, that international stint that we had was unbelievable. You know, the opportunities that we were able to create, you know, for others overseas. And I want that opportunity for my family.
And I also just want to ask, like, what about for youngsters, folk who are considering pursuing PE teaching as a career? Any kind of, you've been there, you've done it. Any kind of advice that you could share with them in particular?
Yeah, no, great question. Listen, don't just think it's about taking classes, taking practical classes, delivering sport. There will be challenges that will come in within that job. There'll be a lot of admin tasks, red tape, and you've got to be prepared. You're going to have children and teenagers that perhaps don't want to be there. Then you have to turn it around and think, no matter what you do, you have to make sure your lessons are great, whatever. But there's going to be children actually that just don't like sport. They don't want to do it, and it is, there is sometimes aggressive behaviour, which is shown, where it's becoming challenging, where you hear of stories of children bullying staff, bullying teachers, it's, so just think, in terms of that, where it's not just all about delivering the sport. That's one part of it, and also you may want your own business. You might want to work in football. You might want to work in sport. Think what you could do if you create your own.
No, it's good. Ajay, we've obviously covered a wide range of topics. It's been an interesting discussion for sure. I think we'll maybe look to wrap it up at that. Is there anything else that you might just want to add at this point, or share with anybody who's watching, if they're still around watching, that is?
Listen, hopefully nobody's fallen asleep or nodded off. Listen, my message is out there is believe in your ability, make things happen. Let's go, Tots United.
Brilliant. And on that note, I think we'll conclude at that. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. Great discussion, Ajay.
Yep. No,
thanks for sharing all your insights.
Thank you.
And it's a very interesting career that you've had, and I think a lot of people, especially from a teaching background and those who aspire to go into teaching, would find it of interest. So thanks for sharing all that, the insights, the knowledge, the experiences, and everything else. But
one thing which I know I've spoke about, teaching and everything, but it's also the fact that you might decide to do this alongside teaching, where you're a teacher, like I was, and then you did a little bit of it, starting off to see how it goes and things, so there are different models that we have, so you don't need to just go all in straight away. There are different things that people can do.
It's not necessarily like a one size fits all.
Correct.
There's tailored approaches that could be suitable for every type of person.
Correct, depending on the situation and things. But what I will say is you will leave a massive impact, in your communities, and the fulfilment that you will get from doing this, there is no better feeling in the world.
So there you go, folks. Ajay Singh, former PE teacher and one of the world's elite children's sports coaches, sharing his insights, knowledge and experiences, and that's been really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks again for the discussion. Ajay, thank you.
No, thank you very much for having me.
See you all again. Bye for now.